Don't forget to vote for your favorite. You can do so on the iPad on the way out or on your phone. And now we'll have a Q&A.
Awesome. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, I'm Fregie Noel. I directed New York Day Women.
Thank you. So I just really wanted to ask you where the inspiration came from, because it's a very beautiful story about a mother and a daughter, but there's more to it, and New York City. So I'm just wondering where that came from.
Yeah, well, it was an adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily enough, Edwidge Danticat had written an anthology called Click Crack in the 90s. That was her first book. And I'd read it when I was in undergrad, and I fell in love with all the stories. But a few years later, I was in a film festival in Provincetown and met a programmer who knew Edwidge. And I told her I loved her work and wanted to adapt one of her stories because they'd never been adapted to film. And I got in touch with Edwidge. She watched my work, and she told me just choose a story. And I think just at this stage in my life, that story was really close to my heart. I have a daughter. I have an immigrant mother. I live in New York. And so I just really connected with the characters and the story.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then talking about taking a written work and then adapting it, especially because it is on the shorter side, the film, how did you manage to fit all that together? And maybe tell me, or tell us a little bit about your process from taking a written work and then putting it into film.
Sure. Well, since it was written, I knew that I could play, like as a filmmaker. I'm in the NYU grad film program, and we do a lot of writing and directing, and I've written and directed a lot, but to just know that the structure was there, and all I needed to add was the actual cinema. Like I needed to bring in more conflict, because it's very lyrical, the story itself. So I brought in a character, like her friend, her coworker is a character I wrote. Just I wanted to kind of show how she exists outside of her house, and I felt like another person would be a great way to just counter that. And I love humor, and I wanted to bring in some kind of levity to the story. And then just really thinking about the locations, because I wanted to show a distinct difference between Manhattan and what part of Manhattan, that Midtown area and a little bit of Upper West Side on the diner scene, versus East Flatbush, Brooklyn, which is very Haitian and very West Indian. And so I felt like I could play with color, I could play with motion, I could play with sound. So yeah, I think adapting it was the most fun part, because I knew that the story was there. So you can just kind of build off of that, take away, add on, do that kind of thing.
Awesome, thank you. And then I was also wondering, because you said you added the coworkers a new character, and also visually the whole film is very beautiful to look at. Is there a specific choice you made that is different from the written work that you felt was really important that we saw on screen?
That character. Everything else is directly lifted from the short story. All the narration is hers. But I felt like that character was me a little bit. A little bit. I'm the daughter, but I'm her, and I'm also the mom. And so, like, just kind of her zaniness. And yeah, so I think that was the most. And then when I showed her the film, I wasn't sure how she was going to respond to that, since that was one of her first, works. But she liked it, and so it felt pretty good.
Yeah. And does anybody in the audience have questions? We'd love to take a few. Awesome.
She's such a great writer. Was the Creole part of her story, or did you add that?
That's all her story. That's all her language. And Creole is one of my first languages, so it was easy to jump into that. But yeah, that's all exactly lifted from the short story. And sometimes I have to remember that I'm reading the Creole because I speak English. So I'm like, that actually is the Creole from the short story.
How did you go about casting it?
Wow.
Question about casting.
Yeah, that was a great question because the lead actress is a television actress, and so I knew her through friends, and so she wanted to do it because she's Haitian American and had never had a role like this before. The friend is a friend of mine through Broadway, so that's why she's extra bubbly. But the mother, I didn't cast that mother until 2 days before shooting because I couldn't find a woman in her age group who was an actress. So that is my friend's mother, who I saw on Instagram. I was just like, she's the mom. And so what we were doing was on set, we were helping her. I directed her by telling her to say the lines as if she was talking to one of her 3 different daughters who still lived in the house with her and who are all in their mid-30s. So she was like, she could express it differently depending on the daughter. And a lot of people think she's an actress, but that was her first role, and
Great.
so lovely. Thank you. I'll let her know. She loves to hear that.
Are there any other questions? Awesome.
What did you encounter that you weren't expecting on set?
Directing in another language was one of the most amazing things I've ever done. I felt, there's so much emotion in directing for me. So even if I'm doing a blocking or whatever, like I'm feeling something, and I'm usually speaking in English. But when I was saying it in Creole, things move differently. The space functioned differently. And I think that's why languages are so important. Like a lot of the films, there were so many different languages. I wonder what that was like for those filmmakers to be able to go to those spaces and just kind of just fall into it. So I think that was the biggest experience. And I don't know if I'll get a chance like that again, but it was amazing.
Thank you. The story that you used from the author that I think you said you knew, were there any logistical challenges in being able to use the story, copyright stuff, and if so, can you just talk about that?
Is anyone from Soho Press here? They don't seem to
You're
understand.
willing to admit.
Okay, well, they don't seem to understand student films don't have budgets. And so, here's a bee. Yeah. So that was the issue. Edwidge had no problem because she has 50 rights to it, so she gave me all the clearances. But I went through a brutal process with first getting the film made and then being able to even screen it at festivals. So I don't know where it will live, but I hope it'll live somewhere.
This was the problem with her publishing house? Is
Yeah,
that right?
that
Yeah.
was, no, she's no longer with them, but that was her first book, so she said she signed a bad contract. And so with other stories, I think she has more control, but this one, it was a 50-50 split.
What's the next project?
So I'm working on my thesis. It's called Pick Me President. It's about a very delusional girl, high school student who wants to save the world from tampons and dictatorships. There's a lot.
That's great. Are we about out of time? Or do you have a
I just
question?
thought it was interesting. I grew up in East Flatbush, and it has changed.
Very much. Yeah, and it's changed from this film because all of those street vendors are gone because of ICE. So the culture is changing like every, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.